I was actually telling my fellow speaker here that last time I wore a microphone like this was 2 years ago when I had my PhD thesis defense, and everything was super formal. I was wearing my tuxedo, and the audience was there, and families and grandmother, and everyone was there and was nervous and very strict. And I did my thing. We went out with the custos and the other guy, and and at that moment I thought, now I'm done. And when I went out of the room, I didn't remember having this microphone on. I was like, yes! And everyone started laughing in the audience. I just heard it from behind my back. That was nice because it was a positive expression. So let's see if something like this happens again. Don't mind. All right. So my topic, I think, is a nice introduction. Thanks for that. A different take on digitalization, and my perspective is very business-oriented. My research sort of combined with my professional experience from the past couple of years, and I will talk about business performance management and use some reflections that I have from e-commerce, so online retail that I've worked with for the past couple of years. So I'm gonna have a discussion first of all with myself and with you guys, hopefully later on, talking about theory versus practice, so to speak. And I was asked to tell a couple of words about myself, so here it is. I wanted to do a very nice animated slideshow, but actually it didn't work here, so it's just everything is in there, my whole life story in one slide. I was born 1983 in a place called Vantaa. It's a neighboring city of Helsinki. I'm not sure whether it's a good start for any presentation, but so people in Helsinki have their opinions of Vantaa, but at least there's one really famous and talented and passionate person from that place, particularly from Martinlaakso, is Mika Häkkinen. And Mika Häkkinen is a very good racing driver, world champion, and a philanthropist, but I didn't really do racing myself, but I actually went first to music. I thought I would be a professional guitarist, so a musician. Didn't happen. Then I thought, yes, I will be a professional skateboarder. Didn't happen either, so I thought might be a good idea actually to study something, and found myself 2005 in Aalto University School of Business. Did a master's there, information and service economy was my major. Went to work in a Finnish public organization called Hansel after that, but for a limited time I was actually happy with doing just that, so I thought I actually want to do research. It was interesting. I wanted to further explore, what's happening in the business world from a research perspective, and then decided to go back to the school, so to speak. Was there for 3.5 years, did a PhD, graduated 2013, so almost exactly 2 years ago, after which again I wanted to do something else. So I wanted to explore how the things I theorized actually work in practice and in e-commerce, which was a very interesting field. Just happened to meet someone in a wedding party in Italy who was working at Zalando, which is a leading European online fashion retailer. I'm sure quite many people in Finland have heard about them. So this guy was working at Zalando and told me that he's actually leaving and trying to look for someone to actually take over. And then I said, okay, I will come. And then I was a couple of weeks later, I was in Berlin, and I spent the past 2 years there working for this company. And now for the past 2 weeks, I'm back. I'm back in Helsinki working for Sanoma, more specifically Sanoma Digital Finland, and in the e-commerce section. So working on the same topics more or less. All right. And from that perspective, I wanted to take on this specific question. So how can we do business right? How can we do digital business right? And how I built the presentation is, as I said, I wanted to do something of a dialogue with myself first. So I picked a few central things from my PhD thesis, and I make these claims, and then I answer from my e-commerce perspective. I hope you're fine with that. But just to get you in the mood, so to speak, so what is business performance management? I think this picture might tell you a little bit, what's the historical take on it. So we've done this for quite a long time already. So there's always been, or not always, but for hundreds of years probably been some sort of measurement tool for evaluating whether business is going well or not well. And you have here the very manual first version, and then the second, which is still a sort of analog. And then based on this, the old saying goes, if you can't measure, you can't manage. So this information is then sort of used for management decision making. And that's what we do. But then I went to Germany having this in the back of my head, and they told me, all right, it's fine, but they would take it a step further by saying that what you can't measure does not exist. And this was the take from the digital business perspective, from e-commerce perspective, where you basically have all the data from the business available to you. I think it was also what we heard in the previous presentation is that we live in a digital ecosystem, and we have the digital subject there everywhere. So what you can't measure does not exist. So in this company, we couldn't do anything without having the numbers to back it up. It might be a bit extreme, but it gives an idea of where we're going. But then the problem is you have too much of it. You have the data, you have the sort of the material to work on, but sometimes it can be too much, and this guy here is experiencing it. So there's a huge potential, but also a huge risk if you don't know what to do with it. And then comes my first claim and my answer. So also it's a good illustration of my excellent skills in Photoshop. And so coming from the business school, I didn't really have the coursework done at the design school in a proper way, but hopefully in Aalto University of today, also the business students can go to the design class. But this is not yet there. Anyway, gives the point. My take from the research perspective was, and from what we know, what the knowledge is about, how to fight information overload from the business perspective, is that you sort of narrow down the information, you identify certain key measures or performance indicators or whatever you want to call them, and then look at those, and you're fine. And then there's one super KPI for a company or a public organization that says, if our net promoter score is above 50, we are fine. But what I then realized while working in this sort of emergent field, that still, we didn't know everything yet. So if you have to do a decision and you don't know what, no one has done it before. If you do mobile commerce or something like this, you don't really know. So then what you need to do is to actually get other information. You need to benchmark. You need to do things like this. It's not that you can just stare at the KPIs and be fine with it. KPI is a key performance indicator. So this picture might give an idea on what I'm talking about. So this guy right here, he has his eyes focused on the buck. He's going after it. He has his priorities clear. So he's gonna sell, and he's gonna do whatever needs to be done. But what he doesn't understand is that there might be a Grand Canyon in front of him. He might fall into it, or then if he turns around, there's the competition, hungry sharks, And if you're not careful and if you're not able to triangulate, that's what I wanted to basically say here. If you're not able to, have all of these data points and actually make something out of it, you're going to go wrong. You're going to catch the bill, but in the bottom of the Grand Canyon, most likely. So that was my first thing. Second thing, on digitalization and control, I think goes well with the previous presentation as well. So what I thought in my thesis is that, wow, it's excellent. Now we have everything is digital. We can just rely on the platform to hold all the data, and we can just then have perfect transparency in the world. And there will no longer be like this information asymmetry where a person or a consumer or a business knows more than the other. So everything fine, we can just rely on that. But then I thought, yeah, based on my experience again, people are still people. So it's getting better, but we're not yet there. And what I mean by it is, for example, when people are asked for input for something, I think the Finnish tax authorities have been really progressive, probably one of the best services in the world, that they actually have a platform where they collect all information from, it's not my numbers there, so don't worry. It's just an example. So they have a platform, they collect the information, but still it's not 100% accurate. So you need to basically rely on the citizen to go and check whether the data is correct or not. And if it's not correct, that individual has at least supposed to do something about it. But I would just wonder how many people, or probably many people do, but I wonder if all people actually correct if they see that something is wrong, particularly in the case that it's somehow in their advantage. So it's not perfect always. And the same thing, if I take an e-commerce example, is for example, if you look at visit duration, it's a common metric that an online retailer would use for basically saying how well our service works. If you say, all right, there's a happy customer, stays on the site for 1.5 minutes, that's great. This customer is inspired and finds cool things and buys a lot of stuff. But then, again, if you look at an unhappy customer, you might see the same exact result. 1.5 minutes used, but because the customer is very frustrated because the customer can't find the stuff he or she needs, and the customer is lost forever. So the interpretation of the data is always not that straightforward. Then third thing, and the last thing, on systems development. So I was doing an information systems science thesis where the focus was on, okay, so if this is the management environment, and this is what we need to do, so how do you build information systems to support these activities? And I thought, yeah, well, interaction is key. You need to focus on, having every stakeholder involved, all the users, business people, IT, everyone, and then, it will be a perfect system. But the other guy with the hat on, the other hat on, actually says that he agrees, but hasn't seen it happen in many cases. So it's more that, the user will get a performance management system or any system once it's rolled out, and then you have limited capability to actually change something or give feedback or input or anything like this. So behind this I had a picture of a waterfall, which is a waterfall method for developing IT. Those ones who are familiar with it know, and it's a curse word, but I've seen it happen. But what I have on top of the nice picture of the waterfall is actually my key takeaways that I would like to share with you. So first, even though we have this huge data and we need to somehow deal with it, I would not just focus on the key measures. I would not just look at the sales or the whatever EBIT number we have and blindly follow the bill, but I would look beyond that. Then I would say that we need to train our brain. I'm not a neuroscientist or anything like this, but I still really sincerely believe that we need to be better in processing information ourselves. So it's not the machine alone that will, help us to get sense of all this data. But we need to train our brain, and I think it's already happening, because if you think about how we live our social lives nowadays, it's also not only that you go to your neighbor's place and have a cup of coffee and do the gossip there, but you're involved in several different social media platforms and everything. So it's your brain is better in that sense, but we need to also do that in business. And the last thing is that it's not the data itself, but the hypothesis, the business hypothesis that counts. I think I've seen so many data scientists, which is a buzzword of what we use nowadays, who do very fancy modeling, and they can do nice stuff, but they're not always doing the right things. So it's a lot of resources gone to waste if you don't know what you need, and that's why you need to build the right hypothesis, and then we can do digital business right. Thank you.